All right, welcome everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. Today is going to be about team sustainability for your EMDT. We have Barbara Lopez here, and she's going to start sharing her slides and take over in just a minute. But before we do that, I'm just going to go over a few things about the platform and let you know how you can connect with us. If you do run into any technical issues, audio, slides, internet, any of that, let me know in the chat. I'll also put my phone number in there in case you have any issues connecting that way. We are going to have an evaluation at the end of the webinar. Please stick around and make sure you click on that and let us know how today's presentation went, as well as let us know about any future topics you may want to hear about. And with that, I will turn it over to Barbara.
Thank you, Alicia. Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing?
Good.
Okay, excellent. Before I start, I just want to have like a general picture of kind of who y'all are and where you are. So I'm assuming everyone here works or manages an MDT group. Is that a safe assumption? Okay. Are these all MDT groups that deal with elder abuse? Yeah, okay, perfect. And how many are currently funded by VOCA? Okay, I guess none of the people that are present. Okay, good.
They're all OVC funded. They're all on the same grant with OVC.
Okay, but no victims of crime? You're funded by VOCA? Victims of crime?
Not the VOCA money, but a direct OVC grant.
So, okay, so a different grant, but through them. Okay, gotcha. Okay, thank you, that helps. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Okay, I cannot see y'all anymore, but
we're looking at the presentation view. Sorry, just really quick.
Okay. Okay. Can y'all see clear?
That's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Now I can see at least some of you. Okay, well, thank you for joining today. I think this is a great webinar, great topic. And to be honest, we haven't really done this topic before as a formal presentation. Normally, you know, we present on our center and what we do and how we came about, but not solely on, you know, how we got funded and how we have made it an integral part of the county, etc. So this would be very interesting, I think, for both you and me as well. So my name is Barbara Lopez. I manage the Senior Justice Assessment Center in Houston, Texas. We call it SJAC. So throughout the presentation, if I say SJAC, it's our center. And in the beginning of the presentation, the first few slides, I'll just focus on just telling you a little bit kind of summary of who we are and what we do, just so that you can have an idea. And then I'll move on to the next topic, which would be like the funding piece, etc. So I'll go fairly fast that first part, but please, if you have any questions throughout the entire presentation, feel free to just raise your hand or write it in the chat, however you prefer, and I'll address it. If you want to wait till the end and then we'll have some time for questions, then you can do that as well. Okay, so the more interactive that we do it, the better. So with that said, I'll go ahead and start here. Okay, so very quickly, our learning objectives for today is for the attendees to have a general understanding of our program, our services, and our infrastructure. The ability to research and identify resources that could help fund areas, if not the entire MDT group or team. Have a clear picture of all the levels and different organizations that we approached in order to secure funding and or support for our program. A general understanding of the VOCA grant requirements and management, as well as contracts and MOUs. And I'll go more in detail later on. Okay. So the Senior Justice Assessment Center, we're actually the first ones in Texas to have a center like this, a multidisciplinary team that addresses the needs of older adults who have been victimized, whether it's a crime or abuse, exploitation, I mean, any type of abuse, we cover it. So we're the first ones in Texas. Our model was kind of replicated in a way, not to a T, but to some of the centers in California. I know they've been doing this for a long time. They have 4 centers, and we actually visited 2 of those. And in addition, we also have a children's assessment center here in Houston that is great. So we also kind of model it similarly to that. Of course, you'll know dealing with the elderly population is a completely different ballgame. So had to tweak a lot of things. So we opened in 2017, our first grant, which was a VOCA, we got awarded end of 2016. And from there, being that this was a brand new program, we started it from the ground up. So pretty much first thing that happened was me coming on board. And then from there, we started creating everything. So meaning all our procedures, policies, you know, job descriptions, forms, org chart, everything that you can think of, we did it at that time. And from there, we hired the staff. And in April of 2017, that's the official time when we started accepting cases. So we have multidisciplinary team meetings weekly. We have a set standard time on Wednesdays to do these meetings. They take almost half the day. And we discuss the cases. The meetings are attended by all of our core team members, which include, very briefly, law enforcement. So our 2 law enforcement agencies, Houston Police Department and the Sheriff's Office, the District Attorney's Office, the County Attorney. We have a geriatrician, we have a forensic nurse, our case managers here, Adult Protective Services. And then from there, any other person that we may need to invite for a particular case, then we add as needed. But those that I mentioned are our core team. So of course, we don't take anyone's role. We don't do their job, or, you know, what we don't take on their duties. But we bring everyone together and we ensure that everything is done, that nothing falls through the cracks, and that the elder needs are met, that they're safe and secure by the end when we get ready to close that case. Okay, so these are kind of like the main services that we provide. So right now I have 7 forensic case managers full-time under, you know, our program. So they provide the case coordination and case management. The forensic nurse completes the forensic examination for clients that are either sexually assaulted or physically abused. Capacity evaluation that is completed by our geriatrician. So we have a contract, and I'll go over that a little bit later, with UT Health for a physician to do those. The multidisciplinary team meetings, psychosocial assessment that is completed by our case manager as well. Medical records review, the physician and or the nurse does that. And a lot of the times this is needed for the prosecution cases. Law enforcement investigation, a lot of our cases come to us with not even a police report, unfortunately. And it isn't until we have the meeting that our liaisons with law enforcement are able to generate those reports. Social services and guardianship referrals, our case manager completes that as well. And also they assist with the crime victims compensation application, as well as they're able to expedite those and give updates to our clients. Okay. So like I said, our full-time staff right now consists of 7 forensic case managers, 1 supervisor, and 1 manager. When we started in 2017, we started with just me, so 1 manager and 1 case manager, and that was it. And that's kind of important because it just shows the growth, and not only the growth, but the rapid growth. I mean, we've only been doing this for about 4 years now, and as you can see, we've more than triplicated our staff so far. Then our partner agencies, these are the core ones that I mentioned. And what I noted next to the agency's name are the actual people that are like our liaison that comes to our meeting. So for example, Harris County Attorney's Office provides 2 attorneys. The district attorney's office provides 1 assistant district attorney and 1 social worker, 1 deputy for the sheriff, 1 officer for HPD, 2 supervisors for adult protective services. And then in the top, I put the contracts that we have, which means these are paid. So we paid these agencies for the people to do these contracts. So we have UT Health, the geriatrician, and then the forensic nurse as well. Okay, and these are just some of our numbers, just again, so that you can kind of have an idea of our center and how impactful it has been and how overwhelmed we are right now in terms of cases. You know, elder abuse is something that a lot of people, they don't even think about it. Like it doesn't happen, or if it happens, it's a very isolated incident, and that is not accurate at all. So since we opened in April of 2017, we've had 1,055 cases. Right now, as of the other day, July 30th, we have about half of those cases open. And in addition, we have a waiting list, meaning that we cannot even open these cases. So we have a waiting list of 258 cases at the moment that they're just kind of sitting there waiting to be open, unfortunately. Okay. So we have MDT meetings for all of the clients that we received. So all of the cases that we open, they're all going to have MDT meetings. Since we've opened, our clients have had 174 convictions, well, for the perpetrator of the crime, which is great. And then you can kind of see just the division of the cases that we get. Financial exploitation was the one that we thought we were going to see the most when we first opened, and it was the first year. And then it kind of quickly shifted to number 2. Physical abuse is the number 1 that we see at the moment. Okay, any questions about all that I said very quickly? I'm kind of gonna shift gears here for a moment, so no questions? Okay, good. Okay, so theory to execution. So this is kind of, I'll walk you through the process when we first had the idea for the center, and how it was that we were able to have it from that idea to an actual concrete real thing. So basically our center came up from this white paper. It was a group of stakeholders that actually they've had the idea for, I would say now over 10 years. And it had been a discussion of what, you know, they would want to do this, something like this, right? Like a center for elder victims, where it had a heavy medical piece to it, and where everyone talked to each other. There was, people weren't working on silos, etc. However, during these 10 years of this idea, you know, it never kind of came to fruition. So it was presented to my boss, our director here, Claudia Gonzalez, in 2016. And so she did her research, and she went to our county budget office and, you know, presented on it. That was like the first step. And they said, oh, that's wonderful. It sounds amazing. Go do it and show us, and then we'll see how we can fund you then later. Well, yeah, you can't do it and then get funded, right? So then from there, that's kind of how the research for the grants started. We didn't have any grants here. So until then, we hadn't even worked with VOCA. So VOCA was the grant that we actually applied for in 2016. It was the first grant that fully funded SJAC. And we were able to open it thanks to that. So just, a lot of the things that happened. So the proposal, so we put together the problem with a lot of data, and data not only coming from us, but data coming from, Adult Protective Services, law enforcement, the district attorney's office, because this was going to be a pilot program. Then develop the relationship. So meeting with the partner agencies and meeting always from the top down, right? So ideally you want to meet with whoever heads the agency to secure that commitment, the collaboration, and then from there it'll trickle down to, the divisions and the staff. When we did that, we also secured letters of support from those partner agencies, and that has been very important as well, not just back then, but even to this day. So we still get updated letters of support, and we use that anytime we're approaching anyone about funding. We created a memorandum of understanding, MOU, which I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with one, but basically it's a document that lists everyone's duties as in regards to the partnership, right? For example, that we're going to be able to share confidential information. However, everyone is to follow their own confidentiality policies, procedures, and guidelines, things of that nature. And then it's usually signed by whoever heads, those agencies, and then it's approved by our commissioners court. And that memorandum of understanding is also a key component because, as you already know, working on an MDT group, confidentiality and the sharing of information it can get kind of tricky. However, it is vital in order for us to, have a productive multidisciplinary team meeting. So just being able to do that freely without having to worry about the legal aspect of it, I think it's a big deal. It's very important. We also created a steering committee. So the steering committee consisted of, again, kind of like the heads of these partner agencies, and we would have quarterly meetings. We haven't had one in a while. I think now that we've been doing this for a while, we kind of lapsed, but back first and second year, every 3 months, we were having a steering committee, and this was mainly to talk about like operational stuff, processes, policies, things that we needed maybe assistance with, things of that nature. Okay, yeah, so we were awarded VOCA, and then from there, again, created all the policies, procedures, we hired staff, and then from there as well, we've been doing education and outreach. So similar to this presentation, but like I said in the beginning, not so much focused on the funding, more so on the actual MDT group and our, what we do. We've been doing a lot of that in the community, as well as with the other partner agencies that work these cases. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about VOCA, and that's why I asked in the beginning if you guys were familiar with it, because I didn't want to just go over it if everyone had VOCA grant right now. So VOCA is Victims of Crime Act Formula Grant Program. It is managed by the Office for Victims of Crime, OVC, which is the one that you mentioned earlier. all the applications are online. So all the information is online, and I actually included a link to it later on towards the end of the presentation if you want to like get it from there. And then for us, the Office of the Governor is the one that administers and monitors the VOCA grant. So for us, it is managed through Austin, and we report to them for our VOCA grant. So for VOCA, it's, and I don't know if you guys have actually heard anything about VOCA. It is a pretty tedious, for lack of a better term, grant. It has a lot of requirements. There's a lot of reporting components. And so one of them is they require to submit annual state performance report, which actually is not annuals, they're quarterly. So every 3 months, they require 2 reports. It's a federal report and a state report. And basically you report back with all the data that you had included in your original application. Besides that, there's also financial reporting. I didn't include in the PowerPoint, but there is financial reporting that is done also every 3 months. If you have a financial fiscal department, normally they're the ones that would do that. If you're kind of wearing all hats, then you will have a lot of reports to do. So just, you know, things to keep in mind when applying for VOCA.
Barbara, really quick,
yeah.
we got a comment in the chat that the grantees on this webinar are all VOCA grant recipients.
Oh, okay, they are.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, okay. Okay, I must have misunderstood in the beginning when I asked then. Okay, so let me move this away. So I'll just skip this then. Okay, so since we were primarily funded by VOCA, the only thing that the county basically was giving us when we started was the space, right? So we're under Harris County Protective Services, and we, you know, we're housed here, so we have offices, everything was here, but other than that, everything came from VOCA. Our salaries, our technology, our supplies, our contracts. And as you all know, having VOCA every year gets more competitive and more competitive. So we've been having to cut some things every time we apply for a renewal grant. So we had to come up with a sustainability plan, right? Like what's our plan for long-term funding, which is not VOCA. We don't want to be dependent on VOCA. And ideally, the perfect situation would be that the county would fund us, right? So how do we get to that point? So the first thing, and I think one of the most important, is to collect good data. I think when we started, we were even collecting data that maybe, honestly, we didn't even need, just in case it was something that later on was going to be useful. So having a good person that can analyze, that can gather, that can figure that out, that is very, very important, because later on that's going to be needed for whatever, wherever you go asking for funding. Demonstrate the need. I think that ties with the data. So you have to show pretty much, like I say it, like always here to my staff, like we have to overwhelm you to then show, right, that we need money for more positions, just to give you an example. Unfortunately, that's how things go. So you can't go ask for funding and then have 5 clients, right? Like you need to demonstrate the need, see how is it that these people are suffering, that they need your services, that they need this multidisciplinary team to get together and work for them. Okay. Request funding for positions, contracts, operations. So our first grant and pretty much the renewals after for 2 years were about $1 million. So just to give you an idea, so if we go to the county and we just say, oh, we need $1 million, right, to cover a year of salaries, et cetera, you know, they're most likely going to say no. However, if we just start requesting things apart, it's more likely that they're going to say yes than if we just ask to, you know, for the whole program. So it's just very important to have that division of, okay, do you want to cover salaries by, you know, by the grant or by the county? Like, just look at all the pros and cons, right? Salaries is something that comes with, you know, benefits. So then you have to add the French benefits, as you all know. Contracts is something that, say you have a contract for a year, you can end it, you can decrease it. So they may be more leaning towards funding something like that. So just be aware when you do your ask of what's going to help you probably get a yes. Instead of that's too much money, we're not going to do that. Or operations. So have a plan. This is also very important. And what I mean by that is, for example, we are in a situation where, like I said before, we have a waiting list. That's a big deal. These clients, as you know, time is of the essence. And right now, these clients are just sitting there waiting, which in a way defeats the purpose of our center and the MDT group and everything that we do. However, there's nothing that we can do about it because my case managers right now have over 100 cases each on their caseloads. So it's like either I kill my case managers, you know, to help these people, or these people have to sit in a waiting list, unfortunately. So when you're doing all of that and with the growth, it's very important to keep in mind space. So we're growing, you're adding positions. Do you even have the space that you need to put these people? So that's also another consideration. And now with COVID, I know it's like everything is ×4, complicated. Their caseload, same thing. The time frame that you want to get funded for whatever it is that you're asking, and also how is it going to be managed? So is it a person that's going to manage the staff? Is the person that's going to manage all the pieces? If you're in a bigger, probably in a bigger governmental department, you may have different, you know, departments or people that do different things that can help you. But if you're in a smaller area or maybe a rural area, you may be it, and you may be wearing all the hats. The same with projections and estimated growth. So when you ask for money, a lot of the times, you know, you have to also work on that data moving ahead. So what are you expecting to happen based on the trends and what you've seen and what the partner agencies have seen? And what are you estimating that you may need, right? You may need more positions moving forward. You may need more positions next year, which means you need more offices, more desks, more supplies, you know, more of everything. So just keeping in mind all of those pieces for when you go and present to anyone asking for funding. Any questions so far? No? Good. Okay. Okay, we'll just keep it moving. Okay. So for us, I know I said we were primarily funded by VOCA. However, these are some of the other available funding sources that, I mean, we have looked at, and for, you know, one or another reason, either we, you know, didn't qualify, or it wasn't available, or it just wasn't, you know, the best use of our time and efforts for whatever they were offering. However, I wanted to put them here so that you can see. Of course, private funding is always going to be an option for anyone, anywhere in the nation. Foundations. So that's something that we're actually kind of working on right now. It's a little more complicated than just your regular funding. You normally need, you know, a champion and good connections to kind of get that started. So we've actually been having some meetings with some of our board members here in the county to go after foundation money. So we're not there yet, but we're in the beginning stages talking about it. So just something to keep in mind. Capital campaign kind of goes along with the foundation to where it's kind of like a whole different ball game, and you need other people involved. We are also in the talks of a capital campaign, and mainly for us, it's because of the space. So again, we're housed in the county here in a big building. However, we don't have space. We don't have any more offices, and my staff keeps growing. So pretty soon, I have no idea what I'm going to do with them. So we've been talking about a capital campaign that would allow us to have the amount of money to secure a building, right? And at that point, we're talking about millions of dollars. So that probably won't happen until at the very least 2 years from now. However, that's another option that you can kind of begin to explore. The ACL grants, we know in California, actually, a lot of the recipients of that, we haven't received any of those, but I thought I'd mention it as well, and you can, research more about it. Local, so American Rescue Plan actually is something that's all over the nation. It came as a result of COVID. I don't know if some of you are already kind of tapping into it, but it was to help local government to fund or to cover things that kind of were affected because of COVID. However, the different sections that covered it were fairly general. It wasn't just directly like impacted by COVID. So we did submit a few applications to cover some of the things that we do, for example, like our contracts, or we did an application for vehicles. Trying to think if we did anything else. Oh, and then we did a third one that was a new proposal for something, a new program, but that's a whole nother training. So we haven't heard back. This just happened. I mean, we submitted that about, I think, 2 months ago. So I don't know what the outcome will be, but just keep that in mind. If you go online, American Rescue Plan, you can read more about it. Again, this is something that every state, every local government got money, like millions and millions of dollars. So just look and see if there's an opportunity there where you can just get creative and maybe apply for something that can fall under those categories. It's an application. It was similar to a grant, to where you had to explain, problem, data, your proposal, like all of that. So just have all your information, but then once you submit it, who knows, you may just get that extra money. County funds, like I said, that's our governmental funds. Right now, we have been able to secure more county funds. So from when we started, like I explained, with just the one manager, one case manager, and then fully funded by VOCA, where we are now is that 7, 8, 9. So 4 of us are funded by the county now. So we're in general funds. And the only people that we have left on the grant are 4 case managers. So that is a big, big deal. We've been able to do that slowly, but not so slowly, if you think about it. So one by one, I was the first one that moved back to general funds. And then from there, when opportunities have come about, we've just kept kind of moving positions as much as possible. So another important thing has been to look internally. For example, so our program is under a division, the Adult Services Division, that also includes the public guardianship program, right? I know in other places you call it conservatorships, which is a big program here. It's I think it's the 3rd largest in the nation. And so we have a lot of staff, right? It's like 80 total with the case managers and supervisors, et cetera. So when opportunities have come about to reevaluate like caseloads, how many staff do we have in units, things of that nature, or do we need this position? That's how we've been able to kind of shift some of the positions that have been funded by the grant into general funds, which has been our main priority. So although in the beginning it seemed like, oh, it's one by one, this may take forever. I mean, the fact that now we have more people under general funds than the grant, it's a big, big deal. It's really exciting. Also, your local area on agency. So I know each state, each county has their own AAA, we like to call it, area agency on aging, and they do give funding for different types of services. Of course, that would depend on where you're located, but definitely, it's always good to check with them as well. When we started with SJAC, they were actually one of our partners, and honestly, I don't know what happened, but they kind of fell off. So that's something to keep in mind. I mean, ideally, you want to include them because they do provide a variety of services as well. And so the collaboration would be great. Also, the Health and Human Services Department, or even your public health department. I know right off the bat, it may not sound like it's related, but you should also, meet with them, see what they're all about, see if there's any opportunities there where they can either collaborate, become a partner, or even, provide some funding if you're providing services for some of their own patients or clients. And then adult protective services. So I know not all the states are managed the same as far as APS goes. Our adult protective services is managed by the state of Texas. So they're a state agency. And at least for us, they cannot provide funding, but the partnership in itself would be the collaboration. Plus we have some of their staff that participate in our meetings, etc. So those are just some ideas there that may help you. Okay. So institutionalizing the team. So like I said, we kind of started little by little moving people from the grant to general funds when opportunities came about, also reevaluating the other programs and like really doing a good analysis, an in-depth analysis of positions, caseloads, what do we need, what don't we need, and then, then reshifting those positions. So that's great. Some of the other things that we've done, and I kind of noted the different things just to give you some ideas. So the partnerships are very important. None of our partners at this moment give us any funding, right? They don't give us any money. However, they provide the staff that not only participates in the meetings, but like right now, I have law enforcement here all day today since it's normally our day of the meeting. And so they work with my case managers to, do whatever is necessary for the cases. So they go on visits, they escort them, they do investigations, they generate reports. So they do all of these things for our clients, and it's time. So time is money. And so instead of giving us funding, they're giving us, staff, if that makes sense. So that's very important. So some of the things that we've done that have not only developed, but I think maintained and even strengthened the relationships with the partners are some of these that I noted here in this slide. So I'll kind of tell you about each one very briefly. So in 2017, we did a launching event. We actually did it in June for World Elder Abuse Day. And in that launching event, I mean, everyone was invited, every one of our partners, like from the heads to down. We had a press conference within the launching event. They were able to tour our center, even though at that time, it wasn't even fully finished. We got creative and it was an excellent, very successful event. In the press conference, of course, media was out here and they did interviews with, like with the sheriff and with, the director of APS and, just different people that also highlights their own agencies. And that's always good. We've also been a part of other press conferences, not just that one. So we always try to collaborate. For example, if APS is doing something here in the county, we try to always be there and collaborate. And that way it shows both our, agencies together and how we're able to serve our community and the population that we serve. We did a proclamation. This one actually was done not that long ago. Oh, it was in May of this year. And that's really exciting. Normally our executive director would go to Commissioner's Court and speak. This is all recorded and it's public. Adult Protective Services Director was there as well. This year was through Zoom because, of COVID. They're still not doing anything in person, but that is also a good way to highlight the partnership. And also, and I know I'm not here to talk about staff, but I think that's also, those are the little things that you can use to kind of keep staff engaged and, hey, like, this is a big deal, what we're doing, not just, you're helping your cases and your clients, but it's bigger than that, right? You're a part of something that's bigger than that, and that is making a difference in the community. The conference, Abuse Hurts at Any Age. So that was a conference that we put together in 2019, in June as well, for Elder Abuse Day. It was a one-day conference. We had about 5 speakers. We had 2 keynotes. It was free, and we offer it for pretty much all the staff that works with the older adult population, whether it's in an investigative way or law or social work, any type of field, but that works with older adults or victims of crime or abuse. And it was a big success. It was a lot of work. But it was a big success. We were very excited. People keep asking us about it, so hopefully at some point we can do it again. And in that as well, the partners were not only highlighted, but also media was there, and they were able to do interviews with them. So those are the kind of things that that they like. Promo items. So any type of items that we have. I know promo items sounds like, we're like a company, but like your flyers, your brochure, or anything even on your website, things that you have, make sure to include your partners, and vice versa. You always want to kind of remind them also to keep including you, since you guys work together. Coordination and facilitation of new initiatives. So because of SJAC, there are several things that have happened that are really, really exciting, and that are not the full answer to elder abuse in the county, but it's a start. So a few of the things, the district attorney's office developed what they call ERT, it's the Elder Response Team. And they have a social worker, and this person is able to work with those complainants, talk to them, explain the protection orders, kind of, have more of that case manager approach, instead of having an attorney like, oh, do you want this? No, and hang up the phone and move on. So that's great. Also, our sheriff's office, very recently, actually a few months ago, they finally got funding, and they created their new elder crimes unit, which is a big deal. So right now they have 2 deputies that are the ones assigned to that unit. And in addition, they also created a boarding home unit with 2 additional positions for that. So they got 4 positions, funding for 4 positions to just address these issues. And by boarding homes, I don't know if we're all using the same language, but it's the unlicensed facilities in the community that normally are like really bad, end up in the news, and it's just like horrible, horrible cases. So another one of the things, and I actually facilitated this, it was towards the end of last year. So our city already had an ordinance for the boarding homes, but not the county. So all the people in the city that were doing these things and didn't want to comply, they move out, right? Like they just kept moving out, and that way nobody can tell them anything. So we brought everyone together and worked on the ordinance for the county, and we got it done, finished, approved, sent to Commissioner's Court, and now our county has an ordinance for boarding homes. So that was a big success as well. Innovative grant funding. So our grant, and I don't know if I said this in the beginning, but our grant was the first grant that was awarded, that it was a VOCA grant for elder abuse, right? Like they normally fund, as you all know, like child abuse or juvenile type of victims. So ours was the first one awarded for elder abuse, which in turn kind of keeps us believing that, it's not something that's going to easily go away, right? Especially with all the numbers and the data that we have to back up the proof for the need. Phone bank. So that's one of the other things that we've done in collaboration with the partners. Phone banks about elder abuse, where people call, we just donate our time and we do that for a day, half a day, whatever, however long they set it up. And we all go and give our expertise, to answer calls from the community. So those are always fun as well, and it highlights the collaboration. So, I mean, those are some of the things that we have done to institutionalize the team, and also to develop, maintain, and strengthen the relationships and the partnerships. Okay, so I guess y'all don't need that since y'all are on VOCA. Okay, any questions? Just trying to time myself so we still have quite a few minutes where we can kind of talk. No questions? All good?
Barbara, this is Laura Ifkovich. I want to thank you. And I do have a question, if you're able to clarify. So the members of the EMDTs that were funded from a national discretionary VOCA fund administered by the Office for Victims of Crime. They may be eligible for state VOCA, which I think is what you were talking about. So the last slide may have had state VOCA link. So if people are interested in additionally funding through their state VOCA administrators, there are links for each state and Commonwealth and territory available. And we're hopeful that at the end of the grant funding that they have from OVC, or even in advance of that, if they want to enhance further their EMDTs, that they'll apply for the local funding, because that's an important longer term funding option, as you pointed out, for your own program. So hopefully they'll be able to find additional various places to get funding options to more institutionalize their programs and lengthen their service opportunities to the community.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. I totally agree. Yeah.
Hi, Barbara. This is Laura, and I'm over at Dignity Health Northridge Hospital in Los Angeles, California. I found your presentation really helpful, and especially with the how you had the sustainability plan bullet points laid out. We're developing ours right now. It's an area of our importance to our team. So I was hoping you would be sharing these slides with us, just in case I didn't want to miss anything.
Yes, absolutely. I'm more than happy to do that. I think it'll probably have to go through them. So I'll share it, and then I'm sure they'll disseminate to all of you. Yeah, that's not a problem at all.
Thank you.
And my contact is there. So I know I kind of did the bullet points more to kind of keep me on track. But if there's anything you need me to expand, further with more time, just send me an email. My email is on the last slide. And I'm more than happy to get with you. I mean, we did a lot. It's kind of hard to say it all so fast and for y'all to be able to understand what I'm saying in an hour. So yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Does it help? I mean, thank you, Laura, for your feedback, but does it help kind of, to explain the process, kind of what we did, with the things that we tried and what we are continuing to do to take us further and to help with our growth and our expansion and our, challenge with position, space, and all of that? Yeah. Okay. Just want to make sure if there's anything that maybe, I should tweak or add. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll leave the chat open for just a few more minutes if anyone has any additional comments or questions. We will send out the slides to everyone who registered, so look for that email. And I also put the evaluation link in the chat, so please click on that and just take a minute or two to give us feedback on today's presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you all so much for joining us.
Yes.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Good to see y'all.
Thank you. Great presentation.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here.